Dissecting the DC chaos, one spin at a time. Welcome to Climate and Chaos with Jay Bashayo. Here's Jay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Climate and Chaos with Jay. I am Jay, of course, your host. I hope everyone had a great week because this is a monumental occasion. It happens to be the 10th podcast of Climate and Chaos with Jay. So, if you are a long-time listener or a first-time listener, doesn't matter, you have helped me get to where I am. 10 podcasts. A lot of people thought I wouldn't make it that far. I'm not the best at finishing what I start, but there are some exceptions to the rule. Anyway, we have got one heck of a show for you today. It is important to take in what this show is about. This show is completely about the left losing their minds. We are under siege in this country. Leftists are trying to tell you that you are not capable of making decisions for your own life. They feel that government needs to step in and do it for you. I don't agree with that. I don't think you agree with that. So let's talk about what happened this week. And we're going to touch on several different issues, but they're all going to resolve around the same thing. The left wants to tell you how to live. Where do we want to start? Let's start with Hollywood this week, okay? Now, we know we can always find some good dirt to dish up on them, right? Eric McCormick, Deborah Messing. These two are from a show called Will and Grace. I've never personally watched the show myself. I guess it was pretty popular, and I guess it didn't stay very popular because it did go off the air. Wow, what a picture these guys painted of the true intentions of the left and Hollywood, right? Picture this, right? President Trump is planning a fundraiser in Beverly Hills. Now, Mr. Trump doesn't go to California very often, be that because he doesn't get out there or because he's not the most popular person in loony liberal land. For whatever reason, he doesn't make it out there. But when he does, of course, this has to be front page news for the left. He's planning a fundraiser in Beverly Hills. And of course, now the elitists come crawling out and they're screaming, "Oh, not in my town," right? So Deborah Messing and Eric McCormick decide that they want a list published of Trump donors that are going to be in attendance of this fundraiser. Now, they say that this is an innocent thing, that they have the right to know who they're supporting. No. Let's talk about why they really wanted to do this. They want these people's names put out there because this is a trick of the left, and we see this all the time. They want to shed light on people that do things that they don't like, so they can very simply get them doxxed, put out public information to people that hate them so that they can be harassed. And in Hollywood, I mean, we're talking this would make them unemployable because they have a problem with employing Trump supporters on the right. My understanding from people I've talked to is that there's a lot more Trump supporters in California than we're actually aware of. But they can't allow that to be known for the safety of their careers. Isn't that just ridiculous? Well, that's how it is in loony Hollywood land. Now, a guy I follow that I'm really fond of on Twitter, his name is Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams is a comedian. He got into an accident. He's been hurt, so he hasn't been working in the Hollywood/elitist scene. And he's not an elitist by any means. He is a huge Trump supporter that just happens to be black. And of course, in loony liberal land, that is a no-no. And he put out a message on this issue like he does on several issues. Deborah Messing responded to him on Twitter. She stated that the GOP suppresses blacks with voter ID, and Charlottesville was Trump supporters hating Jews and people of color. Really? Is that what it was? I kind of missed that. I wasn't aware that that's what happened. Now, of course, this is racist. There's no way to cut this, okay? That is racist talk right there. Now, Deborah Messing obviously is implying that when she says that GOP suppresses blacks with voter ID, okay, because she's saying black people don't have ID, she's saying that black people don't know how to get ID, they're not capable to get ID, they're not smart enough to get ID. Which one is it, Deborah? Come on, we're all dying to know here. Which one is it that you think makes black people incapable of getting a voter ID? I mean, is there anything more ridiculous than this? And Charlottesville, she thinks, was made up of Trump supporters that hated Jews and people of color. Okay, first off, by nature, President Trump is hugely pro-Israel. A lot of us on the right are pro-Israel. I would say probably a majority of us. Now, typically in the past, Jewish Americans have supported Democrats. Keep an eye on that this year, because number one, I don't know how anyone can support Democrats, but President Trump has made huge strides with the Jewish community. Let's not forget, not that long ago, he relocated the embassy to the now deemed capital city of Jerusalem. How many presidents said before that they were going to do that? Like all of them? Like the last 4 or 5 at least? And how many of them actually, when it came brass tacks time to actually do it, how many of them did it? None. This was all done by President Trump. So, let's not also forget, President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. He has family members that are Jewish. So, to say something like the generalization that all Trump supporters hate Jews and people of color, nothing could be further than the truth. You see, it's not the left getting doxxed by Republicans. It's not us hitting on them. It is clearly a case that if you don't meet elitist liberal standards, especially in a place like Hollywood, well, then you're garbage. You're totally just cast off to the side. So that's what Eric McCormick and Deborah Messing have actually done with their lives this week. Now, interestingly enough, of course, I follow most everything that goes on Twitter. Deborah Messing receiving as much hate mail as she probably received. I can only assume that the comments to her posts weren't very nice. She put out, get this, she puts out her phone number supposedly and says, text me. Okay. Now people, this is interesting, right? A Hollywood celebrity is just going to put on her Twitter, her phone number and say, text me, right? Because that happens every day. I don't know where you live, but where I live, that happens every day. No, it does not. A couple of people tried this. It ended up being an automated response. And she makes it sound in her video like, we need to have a conversation. We need to talk about this. Let's talk about this. The posturing of the left is so ridiculous at times. What makes these elitists so much better than the rest of us? They're the same people that cry about children at the border and say that a wall is immoral, but every one of them lives either in a gated community or has their own personal fence/wall around their own yard. I'm looking at you, Nancy Pelosi. We know she's got a wall. Quite a big one, actually. And several other elitists. I mean, it's not just Nancy Pelosi. Almost all of these people live in some kind of community that is impenetrable to the average person walking down the street. Well, why is that? When we go to defend ourselves, when we stick up for our civil rights or our Second Amendment, we're completely in the wrong and we support murder, right? I mean, isn't that what we hear? But they put up these walls. You put up a wall for one of two reasons, people. You either want to keep something in or you want to keep something out. Well, they want to keep something out, especially in California, where the conditions are subpar, we could say. San Francisco and all their issues, and we're going to get to San Francisco in just a minute. We got something to talk about there. But these people want to live in their own little worlds, and they want to yell into their own little echo chambers. And that's what they're doing. They're yelling into their echo chambers about how bad Trump is. And they really think this is going to win them an election. They really do. They think that over in loony left land, the rest of us in flyover country think the same as they do, and nothing could be further from the truth. We don't try to divide. They try to divide. Let me go back to the Charlottesville for just a minute here. When she's saying Trump supporters at Charlottesville, okay, let's be clear about what we had there, okay? We had Antifa on the left, and we had alt-right neo-Nazis on the right. I don't condone alt anything. Alt-left, alt-right, either one I don't condone. She seems to think that all those people with the torches chanting about Jews will not replace us, those were all Trump supporters. Well, maybe they do support Trump, but they're not what the majority of Trump supporters, what everyday Trump supporters look like. I can't believe she just generalizes with these characteristics, and it's not just Deborah Messing, folks. This is the left. They like to characterize in general terms. Now, to keep myself from doing what the left does, I just want to put it out there, not all Hollywood celebrities are elitist liberals, okay? There are a lot of good, patriotic Americans. Like I said earlier, there's probably a lot more than we realize that support President Trump and are conservatives, or maybe not even that far, but maybe they're not pro-abortion. Maybe they're not anti-gun rights. You know, when it comes down to it, we're all human. And just because these people live and reside in California and they've chosen the entertainment industry to live their life in, doesn't mean that they're all liberal. I mean, just think for a second. What about people like Clint Eastwood, John Voight, Kirstie Allen, Mindy Robinson, Christy Swanson, Gary Sinise, and most recently to come out notably and say that they are conservative, Isaiah Washington. You know, we don't want to lump everybody into that evil cesspool Hollywood, okay? It probably is mainly made up of liberals and elitists and people like that, but let's not forget we do have some people over there. So we don't want to be guilty of overgeneralizing, okay? Let's give credit where credit is due and recognize the fact that there are some good conservatives in Hollywood. And this is not an all-inclusive list of people that I just mentioned. I know there's others out there, by all means. So let's keep that in mind. But when people tend to want to dox Trump supporters, put their names and make them unemployable and things like that, that is just horrific. That is something you don't see the right doing to the left. I put out all my contact information weekly. If you know of a case where that has happened on the right, let me know, and I will correct myself in the next episode. But I don't think there's been a case where the right has done something like that. Anyway, if you think I'm wrong on this, let me know. I really would like to know if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure, though, the right doesn't play the doxing game. Okay, so the gloves are off this week, are they not? You know, you can only push people so far to drink their Kool-Aid. And you got to come out angry and swinging sometimes. That's kind of how I feel in this podcast. I feel like I'm angry and swinging because somebody's got to. Speaking of which, let's talk about the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Now, I shouldn't laugh at this because their actions are in no way funny, but it's kind of funny that they would take on the action that they've taken on. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys heard about this? Okay. The city of San Francisco, their Board of Supervisors decided to, you ready for this? They decided to designate the NRA, National Riflemen's Association, as a terrorist organization. Yep. I mean, this is no joke. I couldn't make this up if I tried. 5 million members in the NRA. I'm one of them. Okay? My wife, myself, we're both members of the NRA. My father, member of the NRA, lifetime member. They are saying that we are terrorists. And the NRA is our terrorist organization. Unbelievable, right? They passed it with a unanimous decision, and the resolution called out the NRA for inciting acts of violence and spreading misinformation and propaganda. And they're going to use this to limit, that's their word, not mine, limit use of vendors that affiliate with the NRA. So you notice they said limit. They didn't say stop, that they were going to limit as opposed to stop the use of vendors that are affiliated with the NRA. Why do you think that is? Is that because there's probably so many of them that they couldn't get completely away from the NRA if they tried? And their resolution, it stops short of enforcement and it doesn't create any new regulations. So why did they do this? You know as well as I do why they did this. This is a total and complete stunt. This is just a, let's get our name in the paper as the wacky town of San Francisco that we are. You know, we're not concerned with the human feces on the streets. We're not concerned with the hypodermic needles all over the place. We're not concerned with the fact that there are homeless people everywhere. There are tent cities just popping up like mad with homeless people. We're not concerned with any of that. And the big thing is, we're not going to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. We're not going to designate Antifa, who is violent, constantly beating up people. They're on film doing these things. The NRA has never, I repeat, never had a member of its organization go off in a mass shooting or anything like that. Matter of fact, the last few mass shootings that I recall, it's been liberals. It's been people that are card-carrying Democrats or whatever they are. But this all goes back to who's to blame, right? The Democrats couldn't wait to run to a microphone when we had a mass shooting and blame it on President Trump. It was President Trump's fault this, President Trump's fault that. Well, the Dayton shooter, he was an Elizabeth Warren supporter and a socialist. It doesn't matter. It's all President Trump's fault. It's all President Trump's fault. See, they stop at doing sensible things, but they're all over doing the things that make no sense. Now, Amy Hunter, who is a spokesperson for the NRA, she said this ludicrous stunt by the Board of Supervisors is an effort to distract from the real problems in San Francisco, such as rampant homelessness, drug abuse, and skyrocketing petty crime. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You're going to take the largest organization in the country, and you're going to designate it a terrorist organization, not taking into account the fact that the NRA is the voice of reason when it comes to guns. They offer free locking devices. They have gun safety training, certified carry instructors. You know, my carry instructor, when I took my carry license training, he was certified through the NRA. They have a stringent training. That's what they're there for. They're there to train. They're there to encourage safe gun ownership, usage, and storing. But all this is, it's a shoddy attempt to degrade the Second Amendment from the most poorly run state in America. Let's look at San Francisco. Why don't we talk about San Francisco for a minute? From Gavin Newsom to this fake decision from this supervisory board, California is probably the most shambled state in the union, right? I mean, it's no exaggeration and it's no secret that crime is rampant. People are urinating and defecating in public. Homelessness and drug abuse is through the roof. There's hypodermic needles that you got to jump over everywhere in the streets. They are, not to mention, they're a sanctuary city filled with illegal aliens. They pander to criminals and drug addicts. They don't support ICE. They don't even support their own police department. How could we expect them to support ICE? They don't even support their own police. And I'm going to touch on why that is. And they're overpopulated. The city is overpopulated and housing prices are insane. Take a guess what an average home costs in San Francisco, where, mind you, you get to live with all this rampant crime and urine and feces in the street and all that. Take an average what it costs to live in those wonderful conditions. How about 1.3 million on average? Yeah, that sounds great. Sign me up. I'm all over it. I'm on my way. Unbelievable. Just crazy. So this is another case of do what I say, not as I do, you know, that kind of attitude. Because this is a rich decision coming from a city and a state that are hell-bent on defying law and order. Let's talk about Gavin Newsom. What a winning genius this guy is. Gavin Newsom, who is the ex-mayor of San Francisco, current governor of California, that I think there are several recall campaigns underway. I can't be 100% about that, but I know he's not popular among his own people. But Gavin Newsom, he is anti-cop. He is pro-illegal. He panders to gangs. but he has no sense of law and order whatsoever. But I'm sure he's perfectly happy with this decision. So Gavin Newsom this week reverses a 1872 Posse Comitatus Act that basically states that anybody over the age of 18 should assist the police if they are in need when making an arrest. Now think about this for a second. Okay, if you're driving down the street or whatever, and you see that the police have somebody pulled over, and the police officer is by himself, he's got his hands full, or maybe the situation has totally gone 180 and he's getting beaten on by somebody, or, not everybody would be in the position to help, but a lot of people would probably stop. I know I would stop. I would stop and I would get involved and I would help the police officer. Right thing to do. Well, this ruling removes the necessity for anyone to do that. He's reversed this law. Now, I looked into why. Okay, why would you do something like that? Why would you tell people, hey, you don't have to cooperate with police. You don't have to help police. I mean, people either would or they wouldn't. They don't need a ruling on it. But I looked into why, right? Because I was curious. The Posse Comitatus Act was put into law in 1872. The claims were that it was designed to stop runaway slaves. It was an archaic law, and it needed to go away because why? You know it, because it's racist. It's racist, just like everything else in the world that the liberals don't agree with. It's racist. Something hit me on that, and I wasn't right away sure what it was, but then I remembered. That's right, slavery was abolished in 1865. So how can the Posse Comitatus Act of 1872 be to assist with runaway slaves? Because if I'm not mistaken, 7 years earlier is when there were no more slaves. Yeah, go California. Anyway, I harbor no ill will towards California. Just like everywhere else, there are good, patriotic people in California. And I actually feel for the fact that they're outnumbered by liberals. Or at least they're outnumbered in the sense of people that support liberals. I think definitely more and more people are getting woke. And they're waking up to the fact that liberalism is a joke. But at least until they can tip the electorate scale in California, back to the days in the 80s when I believe Reagan actually won California on the Republican side, then the people in California are actually stuck with it. And that is heartbreaking. So we know California is a sanctuary state with sanctuary cities. They do not work with ICE. They're overrun with illegals. Like the guy that killed Kate Steinle. That was in San Francisco. And it was a San Francisco court that let him go, too. So that's interesting. The NRA is an evil terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization. But the guy that killed Kate Steinle is free. He is an illegal that had been deported 5 times, and he's a free man right now. Same city. It's just completely ironic. And then, thanks to a ruling that took place this week, they had him on something legal. I don't remember what it is. Check me out on this. But they had him on something that they actually could charge him for, because, of course, he was acquitted of murder. But they had something, and they dropped it. The city dropped it. So that guy just got off scot-free. Kate Steinle's family will have to live with the loss of Kate Steinle forever. But this illegal alien that had been subject to deportation 5 times and continued to come over and break the law, he's scot-free. I know there are conservatives in California. You guys got to get together. You really do. You got to make that state red again. And I know you're in for a lot of opposition, and it's a lot easier for me to sit here and say that. Now, I'm in a swing state. My state goes either way, okay? Michigan, last election we supported Trump. In 2018, we got almost all Democrats, including our governor. It depends which way we go, depends on the political climate in the state. But if California could get together and somehow just make that state red again, that would be a wonderful thing. I'm under no delusion that it's going to happen, not with crazy people like this in San Francisco, not with Gavin Newsom in charge, but it would be great if someday it were to happen. I digress on that, of course. Okay, so let's talk about firearm carrying policies and new policies that have been adopted by certain companies. You may or may not know that Walmart decided to come out and take a stand against the Second Amendment this week in response to the mass shooting in El Paso that took place at a Walmart, and in response to just mass shootings in general. They have, along with some other companies, made some changes to what they sell and what they allow customers to do when it comes to exercising their Second Amendment. It looks as though there were some smaller locations, but the big ones are Walmart, Kroger, Walgreens, CVS. I know in some part of the countries there's Dillon's grocery store. That is a Kroger affiliate, so that will apply. This will apply to that as well. Walmart and Sam's Club. Sam's Club is involved in this too. They have basically all their policies have said the same thing, that they are banning open carry. They don't want anyone carrying their weapons in an open carry fashion. Now, open carry is described as the gun is in view at all times. Opposite, of course, is concealed carry. I don't know a whole lot of people that open carry, but they've decided that guns are scary and they don't want to scare their customers, so they don't want to see them anymore. Now, with exception of one, the one being CVS, I managed to confirm that concealed carry is still permissible in all these locations. But CVS drugstore, I tried on 2 separate occasions to get a response from CVS because their policy is very vague. But it states that unless you're law enforcement, they don't want weapons brought on the premise. Now, they don't specify if they mean open or if they mean concealed, but they do say they don't want them. So, taking that in stride, let's talk about Walmart, because Walmart is an interesting case here, okay? Walmart has decided that they are making changes to their policies as far as what they sell, in addition to what they want and expect from their customers. Now, what the changes they have made is that they weren't really big into selling handguns as it was. I think Alaska is their only market for that, but they're out. They're no longer selling handguns. They're making ammunition sale changes. They no longer want to sell .223 or .556 ammo, which are the common ammunitions for the AR-15, things like that, but they also fit most hunting rifles too. Now, they also have urged the government to ban and seize AR-15s from law-abiding citizens. So, interestingly enough, though, their plan is to take their inventory of ammunition and sell it down. They're not pulling it off the shelves. They're going to sell down what they have left. So, taking that into account, this really isn't about saving lives, is it? We know that right off the bat. Let's get into Walmart a little bit here, because they have a unique history that you may or may not know on their effect on America. Now, Walmart wants to help their country. Well, do they really? Well, let's take a look at what Walmart has done to this country. Now, Walmart is the single biggest retailer in this country, okay? The Walton family, Sam Walton, was the founder of Walmart. The Walton family, the remaining Waltons, are worth collectively about $150 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. So that's what this family is worth. Walmart is absolutely rich, right? Let's talk about how they got rich. Now, I saw a piece that Tucker Carlson did on Fox, and he really had a good look at this. Looking at how they got rich, okay? For years, Walmart is famous for selling us cheap items, okay? Those cheap items are not American made. Where do you think they come from? That's right, China. They come from China. Now, we know that China pays their workers like slaves. They run sweatshops. They have underage workers or whatever. Now, all this is acceptable to Walmart. They don't have a problem with selling products that are made under these conditions. Walmart has taken over and basically knocked the mom and pop shops out of the retail business. Now, a lot of people seem to think it's not going to matter anyway because everything's going all online. But take a look at some of the cities that Walmart's moved into over the years. They have used the sale of cheap Chinese product to drive these mom and pop shops out of competition whatsoever. And Tucker was actually talking about, in one case, the AP put out a report that I think it was $400 million worth of product Walmart actually sold at a loss to bankrupt the competition. So that's what Walmart has done for the United States. Look at our cities with our crumbling infrastructure. How many times do you see strip malls and things like that where once a major retailer was and now they're out of business? Okay. Take a look at Chinese cities. Look at Hong Kong. Look at Beijing. Look at cities like that. They're glowing. They're beautiful. China has actually made that money in part off of Walmart. Now, Walmart doesn't stop there. You know, it's a fact that Walmart keeps most of its employees at part-time status. They cut their hours and they keep them at part-time status, and they just hire more people at part-time status so that they can fill the shifts. Well, you know why they do that, of course, right? Because then they don't have to pay these people benefits. So let's see if I've got this right. The company responsible for bankrupting U.S. cities, building up China, avoiding having to give their employees benefits, is now lecturing us on gun control. That's pretty rich, isn't it? So they've taken their stand, and I don't encourage boycotts. I would never encourage boycotts on anything. I think boycotting is a tool of the left and not a very good one, because when you boycott, you take innocent people that work for that company and you affect their paychecks. But you have to look at the fact here that this is a stand against our Bill of Rights. So do with that what you will and make your own decision. But it's just something to consider. Walmart thinks now they're going to help the United States and take a stand, and they're encouraging government leaders to pass universal background checks. You know, I thought that was rather original. They actually said in their memo, they cited on universal background checks, this last shooting was done with an illegal weapon. No amount of background checks would have stopped this last shooting. I digress on Walmart. They're just, it's unbelievable the damage that this company has actually done to the United States worker. And now they're on a high moral platform of they're going to help the country. Something to think about here, too. You know, the left, they have often beat up on Walmart over the years. They've been at odds with companies like Walmart. And the reason being is they have often cited them for destroying small town America and exploiting their workers and things like that. Well, the left ended up getting rich, basically, and then they didn't care about those issues anymore. So Walmart figured out how to deal with the left. They had hired PR firms and stuff like that to try to correct their image with the left and all that. No, none of that worked. They spent millions of dollars on that. None of that worked. But Walmart got smart. They figured out that by being woke and spewing leftist talking points that they can get the left to keep them off their back. If you get a chance, take a look at that Tucker Carlson clip from a few nights ago. It was actually very informative. He really breaks down, like I said, the damage that Walmart has done to the United States and to the United States worker. So take a look at that. Pretty good stuff. So I'll go ahead and admit I have not done as much laughing at the left as I've done this week between the NRA terrorist thing and how about this climate change town hall on CNN that lasted 7 hours? Yeah, if you can prove that you watched all 7 hours, you win a prize, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch 2 minutes on climate change. Again, I want to go back to what Tucker Carlson called it. He called it an act of wanton cruelty against defenseless television subscribers. And I cannot believe that he would be that far from the truth. Okay, so if you missed it, some highlights from this climate change town hall. They asked Julian Castro what his administration would do about environmental racism. Environmental racism. Now, we know everything is racist to the left, but did you know that the environment is racism too? Has racism involved? Wow. Kamala Harris had her way at attacking cows. She said that she supported changing dietary guidelines to reduce red meat intake. Okay, now, you see, this is what I'm talking about. The left doesn't think that you're smart enough to decide what is good for you to eat. They want to decide for you. And it was funny because right after Kamala Harris said this, Cory Booker stands up and says, well, I get this all the time. People are saying the Democrats want to take your hamburgers away. We're not going to take your hamburgers away. Well, yeah, obviously you weren't paying attention, Cory, because Kamala Harris just said 2 minutes ago that she wanted to change everyone's dietary guidelines to reduce red meat intake. Talking about Kamala Harris is just going to rule by pen. If she were to ever win the presidency, she's going to rule by pen and by phone. Isn't that what Obama said? He had a phone and a pen? Well, that's how she's planning on working. She said in this town hall on separate occasions that she would ban fracking, she would ban offshore drilling, and those plastic straws are just going to be the death of the world, aren't they? And by the way, if you haven't noticed yet, Brad Parscale has Trump straws. They have the Trump signature on them, plastic straws that you can buy from the Trump store. Check it out. Because the left wants to ban plastic straws, and they want to replace them with the crappy paper straws that I've never come in contact with. I can't imagine they work well, but somebody let me know. If you've ever used a paper straw, I want to know how well these things actually work. Just out of curiosity's sake. Hit me up and let me know. So let's talk about the patron saint of Indiana, Father Pete Buttigieg. This guy's got some nerve. He wanted to bring God into this, basically wanted to say that destroying the planet is a kind of sin. He's saying that belching poison into the atmosphere is a kind of sin, and that there's going to be a price to pay for all that. So now the left wants to use scare tactics after they demonize religion and demonize Christians and have everything bad to say. Now people like Father Pete are going to perverse the Bible. That's just amazing, isn't it? They love using it when it works to their advantage. But otherwise, other than that, if you take a pro-life stand and you say, hey, murder is murder, well, that's not a human being. That's just a clump of cells. Right. Pete Buttigieg also stated that life starts at the first breath, not before that. So when a woman is carrying a baby around for 9 months, she's actually not carrying a living thing, because life does not start until the first breath, according to Pete Buttigieg. Such a backwards take on these things, I tell you. So Father Pete, in his infinite wisdom, talking about climate change and how it's such a crime and against God and all this, right? Actually, there was an AP report that came out not long ago. Buttigieg does more traveling by private Gulfstream jet than any other of the 2020 Democrats. So, do as I say, not as I do. Works out real good for the left, doesn't it? So, let's move on to Bernie. Bernie said that to address the climate catastrophe, this was just crazy, he would support more abortions. Africans are having too many babies, is basically what he said. So he encourages more abortions and he wants to pay for it. You cannot make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. He actually encourages abortions because population is getting to be too much in the world. And this is a way to control climate change. You see what they do? Why are the Democrats so in favor of climate change? Is it that do people think that the Democrats are in love with the planet and they want to save the planet and Republicans just don't care? No, that's not it at all. The truth is climate change is a hoax. Okay, climate change is designed. Why would they do it? If it's a hoax, why would the left do it? Well, nobody ever got poor with their involvement with climate change. There's a lot of money to be made in climate change. So keep that in mind when these people are preaching about climate change. A lot of money to be made in it. What I majorly took away from this was it fits the Democrats' narrative of total population control. That's what they're after here. Democrats care about two things, money and power, and they don't care how they get it. They want to micromanage every detail of your life. They want to tell you what to eat, how to commute, what straws to use. They want to destroy our economy highlight, okay? The highlight of our economy is our fossil fuel industry. That's the heart of the American economy. Our energy independence that we have achieved under President Trump, they want to do away with it. They don't want there to be any fossil fuels. Like I said, they still fly back and forth on their private jets, and in some cases they have their yachts and all of that. And, you know, they feel like they're doing their part by telling you not to do these things while they go ahead and do them. But they want to take away the key to our good economy. Our energy independence is responsible for so many jobs. And, you know, not only do so many people are employed by it, but we're exporting energy to the rest of the world now. People didn't think we'd ever see a day like this, and we are. But they want to take it all apart. Dems are pushing to kill the economy, and they will tell you that it is for science. So it's a good trade-off, they'll tell you. And of course, if you don't agree, you're racist against the earth. Well, this has been a kind of longer podcast than usual, has it? Well, that's good. We had a lot to talk about this week. So anyway, I'm going to end it with a chaos reduction for you guys this week. And I kind of highlight everything that you should take away from this and look for in 2020. So sit back, get comfortable. Here's my chaos reduction for this week. Okay. So it seems like the more Democrats talk, just the less appealing they are. How have they become so blatantly honest about their intentions? It seems like they're willing to just come out and say that they want to eliminate your right to choose and they want to take over everything. You could call this a bold strategy if you wanted to, but is it really? Or is it basically just a case of political suicide? Democrats have made it perfectly clear that you are not able to think or make decisions for yourself. They want to tell you what job you can and cannot have, what you can eat, how you can travel, but at the same time, they don't want to adopt these platforms for themselves. They want to tell you Antifa is good and the NRA is bad, that eating meat is killing the planet, and your selfish acts of flying anywhere is just that, selfish. Whether we see it or not, the Democrats are running on the position that they know what is best for you, and they're going to fix your evil, self-harming mistakes, whether you like it or not, because after all, our planet is dying and it has to be saved. This is really an interesting approach to 2020, isn't it? Not one of these candidates want to talk about the economy. Now, why is that? Oh, yeah, that's right, because they can't. Their policies would upend the economy and send us back on a collision course of economic failures. And President Trump basically has us on the up and up. They can't compete with that. All they talk about is free this and free that, growing the national deficit faster than anyone can count. But they don't want you to think about that. Just concentrate on how everyone will be equal. Equal wealth, equal opportunity, equal stature in life. That's how it should be, right? They want to attack the rich, the people that have worked like hell to get to where they're at. All the while saying it is unfair that some people have so much and others have so little. So what do they want to do about that? They want you to share your wealth to make up for it. They want you to pay for all their entitlement programs for people that, well, let's face it, those that would simply rather not work, because that will be fairer. Funny, though, they don't want to start with themselves, and they certainly don't want to lead by example. That's why Pete Buttigieg flies around on private jets when he feels like it, and Bernie Sanders thinks it's disgusting to be rich, even though he's rich. And somebody like Barack Obama, who would have you believe that climate change has the seas ready to rise. He buys a $15 million home on waterfront property. We need to face the Democrats for what they really are, people. In every sense, they are a total scam. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said that a rose by any other name is still a rose. Just like socialism by any other name is still just that, socialism. And that's what they're trying to sell us. They would have you believe that socialism, having collapsed under its own weight in every other society attempt, is only a course of survival for the people and the environment. It's as though they're willing to tear up the Bill of Rights and micromanage every detail of your life. This is not what our country was founded under, and let it be known that planet is not being destroyed by man-made climate change. So why are they pushing so hard? Because it's big business. They're making money off of it. And that's what Democrats want most. Money and, well, power, of course. And they will scare the living hell out of you if that's what it takes to get it. Folks, we're being sold a system of beliefs not connected to anything that makes our country great. We're a society that believes if you work hard and make sacrifices, then you will succeed. We believe that what's yours is yours, and what you make, you keep. We believe in a level playing field, but only to the extent that everyone has the same opportunities, not necessarily the same outcome, as that is determined by what you put into it. What you get back is totally dependent on what you do with your opportunity. Folks, take one thing out of this for sure. Democrats want to destroy the competition. The liberal elites in Hollywood want to blacklist Trump supporters, making their careers worthless and their lives hell, all because they think they're better than us. The liberal elite. They want to dictate policy to us. Like I said, not one of them wants to live by it. But nonetheless, they'll tell you that they will. They call the NRA a terrorist organization, and they think Antifa does what? Spreads happiness to everyone? Give me a break. The state that is a more anti-cop, pro-illegal, pander to gangs and drugs wants to now call me a terrorist? Are you starting to get the big picture yet? The 2020 Democrats aim to destroy our way of life. Now, President Trump, on the other hand, has our economy humming, despite what the fake news tells you. He believes in our civil rights and defends the Constitution from those people and their hideous attempts to subvert democracy. He cares about our future as a nation because if he didn't, he would have chose to just let China continue to screw us. What would it matter to him? He still gets paid, right? Oh, yeah, I forgot. He donates his salary every quarter. So as we get closer to 2020, the decision rests on every American citizen to steer our country in the right direction. Who will prevail? Will it be American exceptionalism founded on our true traditional values? Or will we take one step closer to Venezuela? First, they disarmed their people, and then they converged on them. It's a typical story anywhere a country has been denied self-preservation. Now, I don't know about you, but I in no way intend to just hand over what generations before us have bled and died to protect. So go to the ballot box with confidence, and let their hate and contempt for us fuel your inner patriot. Know that regardless of what they call us, we are on the side of righteousness, and they are truly the evil-intentioned ones. When we vote in 2020, it won't just be for president for the next 4 years. It will be to secure our way of life and against being a slave to fake climate outrage, liberal elitism, lawless wannabe demagogues, and a future that we have already seen fail time and time again. All right, so you have now heard the world according to Climate and Chaos with Jay. Exciting, right? You guys know what to do, because I tell you every week, but I'll say it for the people in the far, far back and all the new people that I am lucky to have listen to me. I am on Twitter and Parler, and I am at ProudOIFVet. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. And I am now on YouTube. So search for Climate and Chaos with Jay on YouTube. If you're using the YouTube app, if you prefer the YouTube app, not doing videos, of course, but we have still images, and the podcasts are identical to what you would find on any other site. So we're available there now, too. So please don't forget, folks, follow me on the social media. Tell your friends about what a wonderful show we have all the time, and how our goal is just to unite the people on the right and bring people to the voting booth for President Trump in 2020. Until next week, you have listened to Climate and Chaos with Jay. I thank you so much for showing up. Please, till we meet again, be good to each other.